I'm going to get into the framework, but before I start with that, I want to talk to you, and I'm going to segue into the hero's journey. Does everybody know / have you heard of the hero's journey before? No? Okay. So the hero's journey is it was a phrase coined by Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell was a comparative mythologist. He looked at cultures throughout time and history and saw that there was common themes or myths that continuously arose. And one of this was a story about transformation. It was a story about a person who started off in one reality and ended up in another. So that could be a person going from childhood to adulthood, a person going from just being the kid on the corner to the king in the castle, a story of being a single person to being a married person. So these were common themes because all people kind of do these things throughout time and space, and he created a monomyth, a myth that encapsulated many of these journeys. Fundamentally, the hero's journey is about transition, and it's a way of explaining in a person's going into like a fantasy or a liminal space where anything's possible. They have teachers, they have helpers, and they help them become this next thing. So taking you from a child to an adult in a fantasy or liminal in-between world. So in our current Western culture that we live in, it's being interpreted as in a different way, and I have a lot of issues with the way it's being interpreted because it's killing storytelling. Because the hero's journey is fundamentally about the in-between, the things we don't know, the liminal spaces. And it's being interpreted as this very linear, straight line of A to B, and you're a superhero. You're larger than life. You're perfect. You have no flaws. Whereas most of the characters in the hero's journey are incredibly flawed, complicated people. And so I want to ask you to don't use the hero's journey. The hero's journey, as it's currently being interpreted, is causing a lot of problems, and I'm going to get into why that is. If you're using it in the way that Joseph Campbell really intended it, it's an interesting space, but there's a lot of people using it wrong. You cannot empathetically get into the mind of a person that you're designing for or trying to help if you're not seeing through their eyes. You cannot walk with them if you're walking behind them. If they're the hero and they're up in front, or they're the hero and you put them up on a pedestal, how are you connected with them? And so there's all these people out there, I see this all the time, your product is a hero, your service is a hero, your customer, your client's a hero. Guess what, guys? No one's a hero. I'm not a hero. This is not like a derogatory thing. No one in this room is a hero. We've all done heroic things, but we are not heroes. A hero is an archetype, and it's empty, and it doesn't explain the nuances and the complexity and the empathetic journey we have inside of us. So don't do it. This is what you should do instead, which is what today is about. So innovation fundamentally is about we, not me. And the hero's journey, as it's currently being interpreted in Western culture, is I. I'm a hero. I'm perfect. I'm larger than life. I, me. But it's not me. It's we. It's us. It's me looking through your eyes. It's me understanding you, not judging you, not trying to make you anything, not make you perfect. That's a lot of pressure, right? So I've created some non-linear frameworks for a non-linear world. Life's not linear. Real amazing storytelling is not linear. If you've been in my other workshop, I talk about my circle theory, but we're not going to do that today because we have to move on. But innovation storytelling is like a film. If I was going to compare it to a film, it'd be like a Bollywood film, not a Hollywood film. Hollywood is, I'd really like that girl, I'd really like that job, I'd really like to take over the world, and then I do. Bollywood is like, all of a sudden a dance scene, all of a sudden the entire family is involved, all of a sudden there's like a mystery, someone gets their organs stolen, then there's a heist, then at the end it somehow comes together in some sort of crazy thing, And no one really gets what they want. They just get what they need, and then everyone moves on. Why? Because in Bollywood films, the we is more important. Preserving the culture, preserving the family, preserving the needs of a complicated group of people who come together all of a sudden to dance and then move off on multiple storylines. And often the music doesn't add to the story. It's just like a total break from reality, and all of a sudden they're dancing on top of a mountain. And you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And then they go back, they're sitting at the dining room table. That is more how life works, right? Obviously, you're just doing stuff, and then crazy stuff's coming this way and that way, and you're just trying to maneuver your way through. So, the empathy flower, I've been talking about this. Now I'm going to explain it. You have, as you're collecting stories, anecdotes, shadowing, it can be nonverbal as well. You're looking at all these individual stories, and then you're thinking, all right, what's the connection points between these stories? You want to look to see how the stories overlap. So in some cases, it might be the individuals involved. It might be just, it's about this particular type of person. But fundamentally, it's going to be about thoughts, feelings, actions, whatever they're emotionally trying to convey to you through those stories. So when we were collecting those stories from the young people and friendship came up over and over and over again, I was like, okay, so we've got friendship just keeps coming up. That's really the overlap here, regardless of how old they are, where they are, who they think their friends are. The big story here is actually, the theme is friendship. And then we started getting these smaller collections. So like the friendship flower had lots of petals where they were overlapping around that theme. Then we had the smaller one, and one I mentioned was the violence. And the other one was like the girl's perception, like her outward appearance to other people was another smaller flower. I thought, cool, these are other things we need to branch into this bigger narrative that we're building. And this takes place here in your discover and define section of the innovation journey. Does this make sense to everyone? Okay. And now we've got the iteration tree. So this takes place here, and you're going to develop and deliver. So once you've got your how might we, and you're moving through to getting into that solution, we use this to document iterations. So part of this journey is, A, knowing where you want to go. You have to have a pretty clear idea of what that end ideal future looks like. You don't need, just like life, you don't need to know how you get there. But if one of your goals is get a new job in innovation in 2019 or something, you don't know what that job's going to be, and you don't know who it's going to be for, but you have a pretty loose idea. That's the dream end goal, right? So the dream end goal's down here somewhere, and then you're working through, and I'll go through the process, but you've got your stories about the people, then you've got your stories about the process and the problem that you're trying to solve with your processes, and then you've got the end future state. What happened? What does that look like? So with innovation and iterations, as we all know, you're usually running a couple of different solutions at once. But some things don't work. So you could start going, all right, so the people here we figured out, I think, who our real targets were. These are actually the people we're trying to help. However, the process from iteration 2 is probably actually going to suit these people more than the one that we were trying. And also, the way that this turned out, I think if I combine this with this, we're going to see stronger results. So we're going to go like, some sort of tic-tac-toe, like, and then build this out into another iteration. Does that make sense?
Trying to make sense.
Well, we've got activities, so we'll be doing a lot of this. Yeah. So this is the process of how you would document iteration. So it's kind of like a journal. So all great explorers kept journals because you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been and you don't know what your day-to-day looks like. And you think of like Captain Kirk his star log. Every day he'd start with what had been happening on the ship, and then you leap into the story. And you think of great explorers like Lewis and Clark. Their journals are still read today because they documented who they were talking to, where they were, what the landscape looked like. You know, there's scientists trying to rebuild ecosystems in the West based on what they wrote about. So understanding the process of what you're doing is really important to understanding how you get to that future. And understanding who you're linking that all with. If you're not documenting this, and it doesn't necessarily mean like you've got a circle, it just means this is how I envision it, because this is how I see stories. But these are the links. And then you can segment this out and build presentations from this content. Because what I find a lot is that people get to the thing that's working, and they're like, yeah, great, this is building the future we want. And then it's like, oh, how do we sell this? How do we talk about this? We don't know, because you haven't been documenting, you're backward engineering it. And if you're documenting it as you go, you have a lot more understanding when you get here how to present it and what's really valuable, what to leave in and what to leave out. And so where I see this happening most of the time is once you get to that how might we, sometimes you then have to sell that to get buy-in to actually move into your development stage. All right, we're pretty sure this is it. This is what we want to do. Do we get the funding? Do we get the permission? Do we get the resources? So you put together what the future is that you're building. So we haven't done this yet, but you should know this still. And so usually with that stage, I start with the future. This is the future that we want, because this is what great salespeople do. They sell futures, not products, not services. You excite the imagination, and then you kind of go backwards. This is what we think is going to work, and this is going to impact the people this way. Once you're here and you've got a solution, then you set up the presentation with people. So you probably, this is very meta, but you probably noticed that I was people at the beginning of my presentation. Yep. I'm using this on you right now. So you show people, you show videos, you talk about the people, you really build the world of the people, and then our little brains start communicating and the neuro mirroring starts happening, and so you understand what I'm saying, I understand you, it's like happening like this, we feel really connected. Then I get into the problem process. So then I talked about the process I used to get these people in the place that they were, and then I talk about that ideal future. Well, that ideal future is changing the way we talk about drinking and culture change. And we are now creating resources to help other people develop co-design processes to get them there.